The Local 2030 Hub, or the Hawaii Green Growth Local 2030 Islands Hub, is essentially a network. It's a network of public and private sector partners and civil society partners that have come together to look at sustainability goals, both achieving Hawaii sustainability goals and how islands, and Hawaii in particular, can be a model for other island economies and other major economies. And so the network, the hub, is actually the network of people that make the hub. It's over 100 individuals and institutions now that make up this hub. The hub actually was inspired by APEC, the Asia Pacific Economic Cooperation meeting over 9 years ago now. And what this group of people did is they came together and they launched the Aloha Plus Challenge. They identified 6 statewide 2030 sustainability goals. And when they identified these goals, then they set about a process over 3 years to convene stakeholders from across the entire state, from fish pond operators to state agencies to business leaders. And they developed these locally and culturally appropriate metrics and indicators. Now, these metrics and indicators and our progress is being tracked through the Aloha Plus dashboard. And what's fascinating, Bert, is that it actually sits on the state.gov website, but the data is managed by Hawaii Green Growth, and we receive data from our partners from across the state. As I said, private sector partners, civil society partners, government agencies, and others. And this has actually attracted the attention of the international community. In parallel, there's these 17 United Nations sustainability goals that were agreed to by all 193 members of the United Nations in 2015. So actually a year after the Aloha Plus Challenge was launched. And the international community has come to the realization that they are not going to be able to achieve these 17 goals by 2030 unless they engage and work locally. And so the Deputy Secretary General announced an initiative called Local 2030. And the backbone of these initiatives are these Local 2030 hubs, of which there are a little over 10 around the world. Hawaii Green Growth Local 2030 Islands Hub is one of the first in the world. We're the only island hub and the first in the Asia Pacific. And what are we asked to do? So specifically, our partners in the United Nations and our international partners have asked us to help scale our local and culturally appropriate model, the Aloha Plus Challenge, this local framework to achieve these goals. And we do this in 3 ways. We have really a handbook for engaging partners, vertically, horizontally. We did this over a period of 3 years. We determined what matters to the communities, and sometimes those things that you can't measure are reflected in other ways through storytelling, which is something else that we're working on and evolving. The second thing that we do is we're helping these communities that want to set up hubs that we're working with establish a dashboard. So what is the actual space where we can show progress, transparency, an online dashboard? It informs policy decisions. Sometimes it shows us where there are gaps. It shows us where there's progress. And increasingly, we're looking to engage communities because we have 10 years. The IPCC report says we have 10 years to avoid the most catastrophic impacts of climate change. And in order to turn this ship around, we're going to need unprecedented change across every sector of society, starting also with the individual, so behavior change. And what we found is by engaging individuals and students in particular in innovating around the data and actually getting engaged in specific initiatives to change a particular project or proposal in their community, we can help them track that on the dashboard. And it gives them agency so that they actually feel that they can contribute directly to achieve, towards achieving Hawaii's goals and these global goals. The third thing that we do is look at concrete projects. So what are those high impact projects, whether it's a ecosystem-based green infrastructure project, whether it's a food waste diversion project or a clean energy project? What are those projects that are inherently integrated, usually at the water, energy, food nexus, that also includes equity, which is a key component of what we are doing. So I would say what specifically we're doing, and the fourth thing is leadership. What we're doing with Hawaii Green Growth and Global Island Partnership, our sister organization, is engaging leadership across public and private sector and working with island leaders in particular. And we heard today that islands might be the most vulnerable to climate impacts, but they are living laboratories for innovation. And we can more quickly scale these integrated and systems types of initiatives. And this is what we were hoping major economies actually embrace, because 2 things will happen as a hub. By being a model, we are going to be attracting partnerships and resources to Hawaii, because you can't be a model if you're not succeeding locally. The second thing, though, is we are compelled to act and to partner, because when other large economies are embracing our island-led solutions, then we have things like lower emissions. We are reducing the risk of climate change, building resilience, and that will ultimately be what is needed to ensure a more prosperous and resilient future for Hawaii. So I would say it's those four things that we do: the convening, the dashboard and the data, the tracking, as well as the high impact projects, and engaging political leadership across the spectrum. And we are being asked to scale these hubs. We have indications from this really exciting Islands of Innovation meeting of at least two places that would like to launch a hub. So as the Islands 2030 Islands Hub, we are going to help these other islands stand up their hubs and scale island solutions globally.